What up, peeps? It's your boy Heckin. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about mini consoles. So everyone's probably familiar with the classic NES, the Super Nintendo Classic. You know, the great thing about playing retro games is not only are they fun and really good for couch co-op, but being able to play them on official hardware. That's the only reason why I wish they would start making these consoles again. I mean, because why not? You know, they were constantly sold out, and I know Nintendo likes to make everything in limited runs and then have people fight over it. You know, it kind of, in their eyes, creates like a bigger value for their stuff. But there's still a market for these things, because being able to play these old games on your HDTV with like not a lot of hoops to jump through, because you know you could buy these old consoles and then, you know, you've got to get the HDMI adapters. Some TVs won't even pick up the resolution signal if it's too low. It becomes a hassle when you start trying to do it on original hardware. Unless you have one of them big old tube TVs from back in the day. But, you know, in my game room, you know, I got a 55-inch OLED, so I don't want to have that and then next to it have an old school humongous TV. I know for some people that's not really that big of a deal, but for me, I mean, I just don't want to go through that. Plus, the games are really expensive, you know, especially the ones you want to play. Okay, so originally Nintendo put out the NES Classic Edition. It looks like 2016. Yep, November 11, 2016, and then they did a relaunch in 2018. So they did do a relaunch because of demand, and the NES originally came with 30 games, which is a pretty good amount of stuff for the NES. You know, you got your bangers on here: Castlevania, Donkey Kong, Double Dragon 2, Dr. Mario for the puzzle fans, Excite Bike, the original Final Fantasy game, and then of course some were exclusive to Japan, like Final Fantasy 3. And you know, of course they had the Famicom looking one as opposed to the NES. Mario Bros, Mega Man 2. I mean, there was a little bit of something for everyone on these mini consoles, and they came with two controllers. Now I know the controllers were kind of short, but because of the limited run that they did, you know, there was a lot of, you know, scalping going on with these things. But Nintendo produced and sold about 2.3 million of these, and you know, it obviously didn't cost them much to make these, so I don't see why they couldn't still offer them as like a direct purchase through their website and ship out on their own, or do it through like an Amazon deal. I do realize that the Nintendo Switch is starting to get a lot of the classics on there now, which wasn't very prevalent back when this came out. You know, you had like a handful of stuff and that was about it. Now it's a lot better and slowly continuing to grow. And then moving over to the Super NES Classic Edition. So this was the one that I was really stoked for, and I'm sure a lot of people were that grew up in this generation, the generation where the Super Nintendo was still hot shit. But this one released September 2017. This one was a little more expensive than the NES, but it came out with 21 games. One of them being the first official release of Star Fox 2, which I'm sure for somebody was really cool. But, you know, you got less games in this one, but the games you got were bangers. I mean, Contra 3, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy 6, which I think is technically called something else. Final Fantasy 3, yeah, in the US. Then you had, you know, your Zelda games, Mega Man, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World was on there, Super Metroid. It was a lot of stuff. And these were really easy and fun to manipulate, to add more games to. Backups of your original games, wink wink. And, you know, same thing happened with this console. You know, it sold out, and people were upset that they couldn't get their hands on it. So there's still, I still think to this day, or even if they did just another run of them, I think people would flock to buy them, because it's official hardware and it's just plug and play into an HDTV. I mean, that's amazing. I personally think this kind of thing should be offered all the time, especially with Nintendo. They make such a fuss about people emulating their stuff illegally, but if you offer it to buy, then, you know, maybe people would actually buy it. Hell, I'd even say go as far as making it capable of connecting to Wi-Fi and then have a little eShop on there where people can buy additional games. Although I think that might work a little more with the PlayStation Classic, because they already kind of have that XMB built in with a lot of the classics offered. Or at least that's how it was on the PS3 and the PSP. The Sega Genesis Mini, this is the more recent one, I believe. It came out September 2019 worldwide, and I think they've done a second one that's exclusive to Amazon with a lot of really cool stuff on it. This one came with 42 games, and it sold for $80. So for the same price as the Super Nintendo, you're getting twice the games. That's a total classic Sega move, outdoing Nintendo that way. But you know, all your bangers are here too. Comic Zone, what a great game. You got Contra Hardcore, Mean Bean Machine, Light Crusader, something for everybody, man. And that was what was great about these, is they came with 2 different controllers, so you could just co-op with a bro or a sibling right out the gate. Earthworm Jim, I mean, just great choice, great games choice here. It doesn't have everything that I would want. General Chaos is a really nice gem on the Sega Genesis, but I don't think it'll ever get released. But my question here is, like, why even stop where they have? You know, Nintendo could totally do a Game Boy Classic, or they could do a Nintendo 64 Classic. That would be really fun. Even though they offer those games on, you know, the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you know, there's a lot of people that don't want to play that way. They want to play with like an actual controller, and you know, the Nintendo 64 controller that they made for the Switch is damn near impossible to get your hands on. So I think creating a N64 Mini would be very beneficial to the consumer as well as to Nintendo, because they could make, you know, money off of it. And it was even I think it was a rumor. I don't think it was ever confirmed that they were going to do that. It just seemed like the next step in these miniature consoles that Nintendo would, you know, do something like that. Then the fourth one here, the PlayStation Classic, December 3rd, 2018 worldwide, it was released. You can still get this bad boy on Amazon for like $100, around like what it cost. And the reason is because Sony copied the idea from Nintendo to make a classic console. However, they didn't execute it properly. They made it piss poor. A lot of the games on the North American versions have the actual PAL versions of the games, which runs at a different refresh rate because they have a different standard for televisions in the UK. This was just a poor oversight, I believe, on whoever decided to you know, pick the games and actually develop this miniature console. So a lot of issues there. Of course, for a lot of regular Joes, they probably didn't even notice or care. But this one came with 20 games. So the games are a little higher value. However, I will say what's really cool is you get that original PlayStation controller here. I know it's kind of small on the screen, but this was even before they had the analog sticks. And it uses USB. So, you know, even if you just wanted to get an official Sony controller that is wired to plug into your computer to play, you know, a Duck Station, I mean, that's kind of worth $100 right there to get 2 of those. The game selection for the PlayStation Classic is okay. I had a lot of opinions in regards to the game selection that they did, but I'm not saying it's completely terrible. I mean, Cool Borders, Destruction Derby, gotta have Final Fantasy VII on there. Metal Gear Solid, one of my favorite games of all time. Resident Evil Director's Cut. I personally would have put Resident Evil 2 on there, but I think they were planning to like maybe do another one of these down the road with different games. I really think Sony should make another PlayStation console like this. I'd like to see a PlayStation 2 Classic with maybe like a 250 gigabyte hard drive or storage built into it. Put the cross media bar on there like they had on the PS3 and the PSP. You know, let it come with, you know, 15, 20 games, and then let people go on there just like you used to and buy whatever games you offer on the store for the console. You know, and they had that with the PS TV as well. You could do that with Vita and classic games. You know, because you're never going to be able to put every single game on a preloaded machine that people are going to want. But they'll buy more games if you give them the option. But yeah, why stop where they have? You know, I think the Nintendo 64 Classic should be a thing. Game Boy Classic could be cool. Sega Dreamcast Classic, that would be sick. Or PS2 Classic, you know? In closing, I'd just like to say, you know, we need more mini consoles. I don't know why they decided to do away with that concept, because it's awesome. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you leave me a like and comment down below and let me know which console that you would like to see either brought back or made into a mini console like this. Also, I just recently hit 1,800 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the support. Really honored and flattered. Can't believe there's that many people that want to spend a few minutes with me a day and shoot the shit, but eternally grateful, man. And we'll just keep slowly snowballing that number and see where it ends up. But until next time, guys, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next video.